first live stream today, and I'll be going to Nyabohanse by 1 p.m. So welcome, and out here, obviously you see my videos are not very clear, but I'm hoping that you'll get what I say. The mic is on, very loud and clear, guys. So yesterday, of course, I kept waiting for the interview, but it was a bit late. I don't know what time it took off, and I've been just checking 1, 2, 3 things here and there about that interview. And of course, guys, there is much in the house. The proposal to impeach Sakaja is also another loading stuff. So the MCS are already actually collecting signatures. We know that the third of the MCS should be supportive to that for it to pass. And we are seeing Sakaja is treading on a very dangerous ground. And we understand so many reasons as to why this is going to happen. And of course, before to the mic aspect, we have had so many people talking about this aspect, though I'll be covering it more on Live Saga TV. So Dura Wariunge is one of the people who has been doing a lot to understand us, to analyze some things. Herman Manyora, Professor, and many other people. And Babu Wino has been also on the forefront to talk about Sakaja and what failures he has. Now, Babu came out to say that the only thing that Sakaja asks them to go and have is the pleasures. Now, Babu says that he retired from that after university and he's up to other serious matters. He has to deliver for the audience. Of course, we know very well Babu is a competitor to Sakaja currently because he is planning to go for the gubernatorial seat. And that is why he's coming up with a new party, possibly, that has had Nindi Nyoro, and we also have Sifuna joining hands. All right, so let's come up here and watch this before we come to Gachagua's mic.
One thing I can assure you, if we go to the votes, Sakaja will never come back. That one I guarantee you, mia kwa mia. Hata akifanya ligi namna gani hatachaguliwa.
Kwa nini?
Hatachaguliwa.
Why? Yeah, anachapa kazi by the way.
Chapa kazi gani?
In Nairobi na work.
Whatever we do, kuna antagonistic politics, tribal politics in Nairobi. And most Kikuyus voted for him. Walikosa kuvotia their own. Kwa sababu they thought to balance the whole thing. Somebody, a young man, a good man, and then they thought he will be with them. Unfortunately, what happened?
So guys, of course, when Sakaja was being elected, I've had discussions, people saying that he was elected because of his dimples. I remember while we were in the university, some people would be picked because of their beauty. Sometimes beauty, they say, is in the hands of the beholder, but I wonder, because there are people who stand out, and I think in one way or the other, and they find favor because of their face. But there are times now when that mediocre leadership comes down, because it cannot go for long. If people choose you just based on your face, it cannot go for long. Obviously, you will not use your integrity, you will not use intelligence, you will not use what you are supposed to do. It's just like when you are given an office on favor. How long will that go? Even if you'll go for long, it will automatically have a lot of challenges here and there. All right? So people who are serious about the work will not work very well with you automatically. And at the end of the day, there were some legacies that you will fail to have. Thank you so much for the like. I've got 1 like from there. And of course, I'm doing my analysis from outside, the outside environment. When I go back to work, I don't have the pleasure to do from a very nice environment because it's a little bit so light. There's so much light out here, but it is what it is. So plant-based black man, girl, stop lying. What am I lying about? Okay, so you are saying that if you are chosen in terms of beauty, you will the brains will be beautiful too. All right, I just enjoy sometimes. I just like that. Okay, plant-based black man, thank you so much. Welcome on board, and let's go for it. So I had been listening to Ndura Wariunge, and that is why I'm here to play his part, because actually Ndura Wariunge is one of the person who testifies, or rather tells us what will happen, and it comes to pass. He talked about the differences between Raila and Ruto, and we saw that. He talked about the fall of the government, and we are seeing that. He talked about the aspect of quarrels that will happen, and we are seeing that. So thank you so much from America, Black-based Black Man. Nzuri sana hapa Kenya. And we are so glad about America. I heard I heard Trump talking about ending the war in Putin's destination, and I'm like, yeah, let it end, because actually war doesn't help. Yeah. So I'm so appreciative from America. Mr. Flame, welcome so much, and thank you so much. Like the video, please. Mr. Flame says, Ati from America. Not me, not me. I'm talking about plant-based black man from America. That's what he said. Mr. Flame, where from? Welcome. And where are you from, Mr. Flame? So welcome on the platform as we discuss matters Kenya. Though I'm focused on analyzing what GACHAGUA came up with. Oh, Turkey, welcome. I saw somebody teaching us that in Turkey you say murahaba, something like that. And thank you so much for coming on my platform. I really appreciate. Like the video for me, and let's keep growing. Okay, yeah. So I do different analysis. Today I've decided this is a political aspect, but it's partly social too, and therefore I decide to do a live stream here on the ground. Mr. Flem asks Raila or Ruto. For what? Raila or Ruto? I'm doing on GACHAGUA, not Raila or Ruto, but we're looking at political aspects generally. So it's not about Raila or Ruto, it's about GACHAGUA. Remember yesterday he was on a very long interview, and we're just looking at, in summary, what, okay, so Mr. Flem was asking, and I said, no, not on Ruto, not on Raila, though we may mention him once in a while, because we cannot miss to talk about that too. Having joined the broad-based corruption, having joined the broad-based corruption aspect, which they call government, we just have to talk about them. So thank you so much, Mr. Flem from Turkey, and Blunt-based Black Man from America. Thank you so much for coming to the platform, and let's go to it. All right. So Ndura Wariunge actually said clearly that the governor of Nairobi, the current governor of Nairobi, that is Sakaja, may not go back or cannot win. And this is the interpretation into why he will not win. And of course, before, you've seen there was a tabling of his impeachment that happened in around June 2025, and he had to run to Raila Odinga for support, and Raila came out saying that he wants Nairobi to be strong. Now, for how long will he run to Raila? And of course, you saw during the Sabasaba day, we had Sakaja actually being accused of using the goons in the city. We've also seen that Nairobi has turned out to be a bit of dirty than before, because since when did we see a governor actually allowing the clashes that happened between KPLC and the litter collectors? A whole tank of dirt coming to stand before the KPLC house because they have cut short the electricity. Such wrangles never happened. And currently now the leaders or the MCS in Nairobi are accusing the governor of, negligence of office, the fact that he cannot receive their calls at all, the fact that he is blocking them from broad-based government, therefore they cannot perform their duties, and so many accusations coming out. Yeah. So that aspect of failing to be functional becomes a very serious accusation, and of course there is an impeachment table already, and signatures being collected by MCS, already 96 on board, and they just need a few to reach 100, and is it 140? About there. And he will be done. So he's actually treading on a very dangerous ground, but let's listen to Wariunge more and then come back to the people, or actually the MCS speaker, and then we'll be coming back to GACHAGUA, because we are here for 1 hour. So thank you so much and welcome on board. You can like the video. I only have 1 like out of the 50 that we are targeting. So let's go for it.
Right now he has removed all hawkers from the city. Hawkers ni Wakikuyu. Amekuja hapa Marikiti amewagonga. Yeye ndiye alisaidia kugonga hizi nyumba zilibomolewa.
All right, guys, so the commercial break coming out there, but let me interpret because the guy was speaking in Kiswahili, so automatically the guy says that we have so many business people, the small, we call them the small small-scale business people, all right, whose sustenance or the maintenance of loans and all that is in small businesses. Let's say those who sell handkerchiefs, they sell just some small stuffs. Maybe their capital is at 3,000 or 5,000, all right? So most of those have been chased away from the city. Okay, we don't really support the aspect of hawkers being right in the city because sometimes it creates a lot of crime and a nuisance in the city, especially in the evening or morning. But remember, the former governor had a kind of given them leeway, especially in terms of hours and Saturdays. They could sell Saturdays and Sundays. Then during the week, they are restricted until very late in the evening. All right. Then we also had a situation where so many houses have been demolished in the city, and this is also subjected to Governor, Sakaja. So I'm not so sure about the demands of the construction. Other people are also talking about land grabbing that has been happening, and all these matters have led to Sakaja losing popularity in the city. So currently, he may not be considered just as he was before. His fame has gone down, okay? Now let's go down into more discussion.
They'll be so emotional. So emotional.
But don't you think that's the first problem when you vote out of emotions?
Yes.
Instead of, the policies.
Yeah. It doesn't work. We voted for Ruto because we were emotional. And that's what I'm calling, that we need to change this kind of politics. We need to raise more Gen Zs, because Gen Zs will not come in the line of tribal politics. They will come in the line of, they are not Kikuyus, they are not Luos, they are not Kalenjins, they are Kenyans, because they don't even know the language. They don't even know how to speak the languages, the native languages. But if we can move that way and produce quite a good leader who is not tribal, then the city will grow. Because Kikuyus believe that the city is theirs, the Luos there, they believe the city is there, the Luyas on the other side, they believe the city is there. And that's why you see the Luyas walipanga kamupango against Wakikuyu na wamekalia rais. Because all the Luyas who voted for Sakaja, for Sifuna, are the same Luyas that voted for Sakaja, because they believed Sakaja is a Luya. The Kalenjins in Nairobi voted for Sakaja because they believe Sakaja is about.
So if I bring here a question maybe for a survey, are you a tribal politician or not? For example, when you're voting, do you consider the party, do you consider the person, or do you consider policies? That is one of the mistakes that we actually have in the country, Kenya. A lot of people vote based on the parties. Some will say, I'll vote for ODM across. Others will say, I'll vote for Kenya Kwanza across. And others vote based on tribal. And this is one of the mistakes that Kenya has been experiencing all along. Socially, I don't see how growth is conducted based on tribe. You can have a brother who may not assist you, but you have a friend from far, 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 even in America or somewhere, that will help you. And as the world opens up, I think this is one of the things that people need to realize. And once we realize that, we'll have changed politics which will be better for ourselves and for our children, Because tribal politics, I think they are done. When we go tribal and vote for people based on the tribe, we are messing up. Because why should you leave some good leader from another tribe just because you want to vote for your own tribe? That is one mistake we should never again conduct. And Waringi here is actually acknowledging the fact that tribal politics are dangerous. And you see, the thing is, when you support such kind of politics, they end up just falling on your face. Now let's check on, there are some people who are talking about Nairobi, and let me just check on this. There's some video I saw in relation to the MCS speaking in Nairobi and trying to indicate that they are ready to oust out Sakaja from leadership. Just before we come to GACHAGUA and, explore we explore the aspects surrounding the politics in there. All right. So let's see the politics of Nairobi surrounding Sakaja. So automatically you understand Sakaja is not the best leader in Nairobi so far. And recently we were having a question when Ruto and Raila came out to say that we should not question governance. Instead, the Senate should play its role and MCS should play its role. Do you think that this aspect of impeachment will go through? Do you think it will go through, or will Raila again protect Sakaja just as he did the other time, saying that Nairobi needs to be stable? Will his politics now serve the purpose? And of course, you know Sifuna has been on the neck of Sakaja for the last period. Now let's look at this. And remember, I'm just remembering that Wariungi predicted this mayhem 2 months ago. And so, guys, you need to watch Warunge all the time. How I wish I could get a platform to have an interview with him so that I just get to see his predictions about different things in the country. All right? And of course, there's a lot happening. Even ESCC had to arrest the Siaya County official Hezron Opio, you know, and that is for embezzling of over 100 million Kenyan shillings. You see, the sort of theft that happens is quite funny. But let's go to the Sakaja aspect, because that's what I'm looking for currently. I had played a lot of videos, only that some of them I've had to close them down because of one thing or the other. But let me see the way in which I'll have to ensure that I play the video here. Let me move this other video somewhere. Then I'll play that, because I'll have to come back and play Gachagua's videos. They are very fundamental in our video today. So thank you so much, everybody who is on the platform. I know people are coming in bits, very few, but I still have hope that we are going to grow together, you know. In whatever way, we are going to grow together because we have a mission to accomplish.
So you're making this
We have a mission to accomplish here. So let me go back to that video I'm supposed to play here.
Nairobi politics has just taken a dramatic turn. Over 96 MCAs from both.
All right. So, of course, those are over 96 MCAs that want Sakaja out of office in Nairobi. All right. And they'll be here to explain why. Let's just check on some of them here. Telling why they don't want Sakaja anymore.
Who make calls to the governor, he does not reply or call back to these members. So there's a question of communication between the executive and the assembly, and there's also the issue of his failure to come out on the issue of the broad-based government. He does not give direction on the issue of broad-based government.
It's not just rhetoric. MCAs argue that Sakaja
that has not been working according to us. We have had stalled projects where we have not received any answers from the executive. There are so many stalled projects within the wards, and the residents of Nairobi have been asking why those projects have not yet been completed. There are some issues that are supposed to be dealt with by the intergovernmental laws that he has failed to do so. So many of these things have not been implemented. The issue of motions, the bills that have been passed before this parliament, before this assembly, he has not taken any implementation step. And we are very cautious on these issues. That's why members came on board and they decided to discuss these things with the speaker.
out of frustration, they have now resolved to...
Yeah, so we have a lot of frustration in Nairobi City, and how I just wish, as Flem has said, I would be doing reporting, because at once when I was in university, I did report in the university station. Then, unfortunately, when you do studies on within university, possibly take a bachelor's of education arts, and you come to the market and then end up in schools, and your talent is just gone. But I hope for the best because I don't give up. I don't give up, and that's why I came back to content creation and doing what I have to do. So that very sooner or later, I'll be somewhere else doing something else. And of course, currently I'm doing a lot of books, writing different aspects here and there. All right. So let's get to check something else here. Remember, the ousting aspect has happened before.
Wish for using lacked signatures and lacked
So, as you understand,
Speaker Kennedy Ngondi dismissed those out, accusing him.
so of course, this guy before has tried to oust, Sakaja out of office and brought out proposal, but there were no signatures. So of course, without signatures, that cannot be, rightful in impeaching anybody. So later on, Kenneth had to dismiss that because automatically it did not have the signatures that it required. And so we had another attempt again in June, and there is a waiting procedure to allow the process to go through. But this is the situation now.
Now, MCAs are cutting out the middleman. This isn't just
So there is nothing tribal about this. Now let's go to the discussion on GACHAGUA tonight. I really waited for that because I really wanted to do a reaction towards it, but by almost 9:40 there was nothing happening, and I had just to switch on and do some other stuff. But currently, with what I've watched a lot of incidences on the same, and here is what I have to say. GACHAGUA has had to be asked a lot of questions by Okwaro, among which is a question as to why he believes, why he believes that the president had to meet the Al-Shabaab leader. That was among the questions he was asked, What I have to say. Now, what did he have to respond to that? He said that the president can answer himself just like he answered on the China question. And he said that earlier on he has ever set a meeting between the president and Hemedi, the leader of Somali, and they discussed business matters. Now, let's get to this, because we are on GACHAGUA and we want to know, is he a tribal leader? Of course, there are questions Okwaro asked, and he had to respond to them.
Times do not reflect to other regions, and they need to be articulated by people of those regions.
Mr. GACHAGUA, are you Mount Kenya first?
I'm Kenya first, but I come from Mount Kenya. Because at the end of it all, Yvonne, today you are here interviewing me. When you leave here, you go back home. You are not going to stay here forever. You are here articulating national issues. You are here interviewing me. You are here doing a job. But when you finish your job, you go back home. Same with regard to GACHAGUA. I am here in Nairobi. I was in the United States articulating issues to do with this country. I'm here fighting for the interests of the Kenyan people. But on Saturday, I'll go to Amunyoro. And when I go to Amunyoro, I must listen to what the people of Amunyoro are saying, because they too are Kenyans.
All right. I want us to...
So before we get to listen to what Okwaro had to ask, my question is to you, maybe possibly, do you still believe GACHAGUA is a tribalist or is he a nationalist? Because in the discussion with Okwaro, he indicated that he's a nationalist, only that he begins from home, charity begins from home. That was his argument. What do you think? Is he a tribalist or is he just trying to cover up? And of course, Okwaro had to play his... a tape of before impeachment when he's talking about shares and people invested more. And the fact that he believes that Kikuyus are, he used the word what? They are central. He used the word Kikuyus are central in business in Kenya. And according to Okwaro, the interpretation on that is that without them, the economy cannot flow. That's a question that he was asked, and he had to respond to that. He indicated that they are central because they are all over the places conducting business with Kenyans, and they are making things run. Do you think this is just a way to divert the question because it's using linguistic aspect and literature, or is he being real? Is he really a nationalist? That is a question we have to ask, because we are focusing towards elections that are forthcoming, and in political analysis or social analysis, we need to understand. He said that he's a Democrat. Did he say so? And Of course, many people are indicating that having gone to America, he had the challenge from the young people, and he said that he was okay with that because he was not going to actually solicit for positive reaction alone. He was ready for negative. I always say here, when I'm doing reaction and I'm giving maybe some negative comments on some people, people think like I'm a hater. But sometimes you don't do out of hatred, you just do out of correction and maybe pointing out what other people may not, because there are people who are out there and they are feeble. They may not point out your mistakes, they only point out your strength, and sometimes those weaknesses make you weaker and pull down the strength that you have. So let's play again and listen to what he had to respond here.
I think we've now sorted out that issue because that may be a narrative that does not necessarily relate with the young people or the Gen Z of this nation. Let's listen.
You need, Mheshimiwa, to start positioning yourself as a national leader, not as a tribal leader. And I know many people won't like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. The first mistake that has been done in this event is speaking Kikuyu. I watched a speech about you in Boston, and the speech was a good speech, but there's something you say that Kikuyus tuko economic, are more hardworking, I'm paraphrasing, economic, we've grown the country.
Now, when Gachagua was asked on this, what he said is that he tried to correct or rather persuade the lady to believe that he was a nationalist, right? And he did that by encouraging her that she can say what she wants, but he was addressing or affirming a specific group of people who had invited him in a traditional setting of Mbuzi. What is your thought over this socially? Because I'm in a social critique. What is your thought over this? Do you believe that Gachagua is telling us the truth, that he was a nationalist, only that during that moment it was a group of people focused towards a certain, alignment, and he was there to affirm their effort? Or does he believe that the rest of the Kenyans are not, central in the development of the nation? That's my question here. So let me just play what he will be responding so that you see and you interpret. Look at his nonverbal and verbal language, guys. And remember, he's a literature fellow, So let's look at this.
When I met some Mount Kenya people in Boston, they are business people there, I had to affirm them and say what is their place in our growth of our economy.
What do you think is the place of the Mount Kenya people in the
They are
economy?
hardworking. I said you people are hardworking. You are industrious. You are central in the Kenyan economy. And I'm very happy that the same industry I see back home is what I see here in Boston. And you must continue. The ones who are not willing to buy my funds, I persuade them to be.
The young people who say you are tribalist, you are an ethnic extremist, you're saying their concerns don't mean anything.
I am not saying they are not. I am saying it's not 100% Gen Zs who think I'm tribal. Many of them think I am a great leader.
All right. That is the point of our discussion today. All right. So do you still believe out there, maybe from America, from Turkey, we have other people watching us from elsewhere, do you believe that if a leader goes on to speak in their own language to some group of people, if they go on to show that their own tribe is, fundamental, or rather central in the economy of a nation, those people are tribal? Do you believe, if you have been listening to Gachagua during the impeachment and even currently, do you still believe that he is a Kenyan who is a tribalist and not a nationalist? Because he came out in the interview defending himself and saying he's a nationalist, only that you start from home. Now, I'm going to refer you to other leaders. I want you to also go to other leaders, including our own president, including Raila Odinga. We have Wanga currently who has been trending. We have people like Sifuna, we have Natembea, we have Kalonzo Musyoka, and the rest of them. So I would actually allow you to check on them and maybe listen to them when they're addressing their own people. Let's say Kalonzo Musyoka walking in Kitui, Machakos, or elsewhere. Natembea walking in Bungoma, Kitale, or Malava. Then let's say taking Matiang walking around Kisii, Maraga walking around Kisii. Let's say Paul Mwite walking around his own area. Wamtata walking in Busia. Martha Karua walking around Kirinyaga. So if I send you to look at these leaders, Farouk walking around Lugari, Sudi walking around Kepsarait, have you heard them maybe speaking their language and addressing the people by telling them that you are very important to the economy of the country? Maybe that's what I would urge you to listen to, and then you put your mathematics together to see whether indeed we still have to label Gachagua as a tribal person or is he a nationalist. Do we have a common aspect in Kenya whereby people start first from home, they address their people, and now begin to sell the narrative to other places, or is he only a unique person doing that? Maybe if we try to understand from that perspective, we would see whether we can label Gachagua as a real tribalist or a nationalist, all right? So let's listen to whatever he pursues to say, because he was convincing Okwaro, and Okwaro was really set. She was a journalist who had set her questions right, and she was a tough one. An iron lady for that matter. During the interview, I realized that Okwaro was an iron lady in everything. She was pipetting her questions, perambulating, even though she's at Karen, where Gachagua was residing from. But all she did was to be very firm in her interrogation. Now let's listen more to something else here.
I'm a nationalist. And that's when you come to my meetings, it's full of Gen Zs. And I actually give them a chance to speak. But that does not mean that girl has no right to speak. She has a right to have a contrary opinion. I'm a Democrat myself. I cannot force her to say that I'm a nationalist.
So guys, Gachagua had to tell us that he's a Democrat. He's a Democrat, right? In Kenya, we don't have Democrats. We have parties. But Gachagua came out to say he's a Democrat. I don't know whether he was trying to actually affirm the help that he received from America while in the USA. So he said that he's a Democrat himself and he could not force, I don't know whether he meant that he believes in democracy, but he said he's a Democrat. So he cannot force people to trust in what he believes. He allows people to actually think outside the box. Is he a different man from what he was then when he was supporting Ruto? We'll be checking on that in a meanwhile. So let's go back to something else before I can play the past.
If she thinks I'm not a nationalist, she's entitled to her own opinion. Right, so but I did draw her attention to the fact that Gen Z is back at home. Yeah? Are my people, they are my supporters, because they understand me and they know that I'm not tribal. It's only that narrative has been driven, and her being away and not knowing what is going on here in Kenya when she's in the States, she has bought that narrative. But I did persuade her that that is not the case. Okay.
All right. Were the people in the USA, including the lady who questioned Gachagua on the use of language, mother tongue, and indication that the Kikuyus are the central people in the economy of Kenya. Were they convinced up to now? That's what I wish to know. And possibly if people vote here over that question, I would really be glad to understand whether we really, appreciate that narrative going on, or is Gachagua actually playing his own blowing his own trumpet, but while on the other hand, people are not. There are people who actually, like you've heard, you clearly heard what the other man here in the other video that I just played said, and he was, this man here, Ndura Wariunge was saying that the tribal politics are so dominant in Kenya. And I actually agree with him, because I've been listening to even the current by-election, campaigns. And you remember even Malava constituency, it's a part of my constituency. Politics right there, people saying that they were bringing their own candidates. The guy from Maragoli said. He said clearly that people should not bring their own candidate and plant at Malava. He indicated that ODM should not think of bringing a candidate and planting at Malava, that they need their own. And so after the death of Andanje, there were a lot of questions whether he died out of witchcraft, whether he died out of pressure, whether he was poisoned, or all those questions are rising. All right? And when I saw these by-elections that are running on in Kenya, including part of the northeastern, we have part of Malava, we have Gem, and other places in Kenya, I still see some tribal politics running because people are going there and they have influence talking about regions and who has to be what. So Okwara had to ask another question to Gachagua in relation to how they form parties, whether they form on tribal grounds or other grounds. And of course, Gachagua came out saying that it's not in the question of a tribe. They form or rather pick leaders in different perspective. Now, let's just look at this. Let's look at this, you know. Uh-huh. Let's look at this here.
So you believe the people of Mount Kenya are very central to the country's economy?
All Kenyans are central to the economic development of our country. But the people of Mount Kenya, like all other Kenyans, play an important role.
My work is easy because I use. Here's how I get.
My goodness, the commercial break again.
And
you said central.
And what was agreed on, it must be honored. And I was saying, you know, we made an agreement that we are investing in this government. And this is our expectation. And Yvonne, it is not that it is anything that I was coming out from the blue. It was an agreement that was negotiated, you know, and I was insisting that that agreement should be honored. Other people are not insisting on the honoring of that agreement. I was under a lot of pressure from the people I negotiated on their behalf that what we agreed on should be honored. And that is when William Ruto turned against me because he didn't want to honor what we had agreed. And luckily for me, and it's a mistake that I made that I have to live with. Yeah, I didn't insist on a written agreement. It was a gentleman's agreement. Nevertheless, even a verbal agreement in law is acceptable.
Sorry, just so we understand, you say you negotiated on behalf of your people.
Yes.
What did you negotiate for?
Positions, development, roads, coffee reform, tea reforms, you know, guaranteed minimum return. We did economic charters with President William Ruto, 4 counties in Kenya. And for the people that I represented, because he came to me because he wanted votes from my region, that is the truth. It was not that because he just loved me or he was my friend. It was quid pro quo, you know. Give me this, I give you this. And he said, Regadi, I want 70% of votes from the mountain. Can you deliver that? I said, yes, I can deliver. And I delivered 87%. And I said, I expect the following. I negotiated ministries, water, lands, attorney general, trade. I negotiated all those agreements, you know. And
all right, so there was a question here that was posed in terms of the question of shares. You remember very well during impeachment, that was one of the aspects that actually had to send away Rigathi Gachagua. Now, socially speaking, when we talk about negotiations and regions, because parties are formed on regional basis, and that is why you've seen again, the same question is coming. And currently, we've had the PNU, we've had other parties, Natembea coming up with his, Kalonzo with Wiper, and so many people coming with other parties. Of course, Babu trying to form another party alongside Sifuna, Hamisi, and Ndindi Nyoro. And we are seeing a revolution that is happening, all right? If you have studied the politics of Kenya and the social aspects, you realize that regional forming is coming up. And yeah, so there's a network issue, but we can see what to do with it. I hope it's not actually glittering. Sometimes it annoys me to do so. But let me just check on the computer to be sure that it's clear, because a video becomes a problem. It's clear? Yeah, so guys, when we look at that question of regions and sharing, Kenyans, we've had a problem of regional balancing even during the selection. Now, there was a list that came out of ambassadors. And you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised to realize that somebody like Junet proposed the brother, and all that. I don't know whether I can get that list, but if you are able to actually access the list of ambassadors who are proposed to go to different places, let's see whether I can get that list. It's very clear that in Kenya, even when they are suggesting ambassador or positions, it is suggested on the basis of networking. If you have a brother and they are suggesting ambassadors, somebody proposes a brother, even if they are not qualified, and leaves alone those who are not networked. So it becomes a problem because generally, if you don't have somebody on the top, the big brother, the big cousin, you may not get where you want to go, all right? And let me just check on that list, because it was something that is socially demeaning, okay? Proposed ambassadors. Because I looked at that list, and I think it was coming from Maverick. Maverick had some suggestions. Let's just see. Ambassadorial names. It was suggested around 15th August, around there. I think it's here, that list. Hey, the sun is so hot. It was August. This August. So, of course, we saw Maverick came up with a critic over the list of those who are nominated to be ambassadors, and we saw Junette picking a brother who is not qualified, actually, because we have so many people who are qualified in to take positions such as that, okay? Those who have done even degrees or masters in public relations, and so many other careers. However, in Kenya, it happens that if you have a big brother network, then you get it. But those who lack that, they'll remain jobless, in poor jobs that they cannot pay them well and all that. So let's just go back to Gachagua's explanation and proceed with it, because we are left with about 17 minutes to end our discussion and see whether Gachagua is really a tribalist or a nationalist. And I'm still asking for the comment in the comment section, or rather something like a vote. If this was a video instead of a live stream, I would have placed that, that negotiation of people actually voting for whichever, whether they believe that Gachagua is a tribalist or nationalist. Maybe I'll be placing on the post to allow you to do the discussion on the same.
Where we started having problems is when he started taking away what we had negotiated. He took away finance. I had negotiated finance, he gave to Professor Ndungu. He took it away and gave it to John Mbadi. I had negotiated interior. I had negotiated that and that, because we want, and that is where many people probably fight like
John Mbadi came after.
No, I'm just saying along the way. Okay. That agreement still stands, whether I'm there or not. Because I negotiated on behalf of a people who voted, and then they delivered. They gave you 57% of the votes. So they own that part of the agreement, because the agreement was 70%.
So this was on behalf of the people of Mount Kenya?
Yes.
We don't hear much of the complaints from the people of Mount Kenya about whatever these agreements that were not made.
You wouldn't know. Why is there a rebellion in that mountain? That is the issue. It's only that I speak out. Other leaders don't speak out because they have been compromised. I speak out. And why do I speak out, Yvonne? Because I'm the one who entered the agreement on their behalf. I am the one who is taking.
So when Gachagua, for example, says he negotiated for the people of the mountain, the negotiation or agreement was actually avoided then that's why there was problems. Does it mean he's still a nationalist or a tribalist? This is a question I'm raising in this discussion, and remember, it's a reaction. So just to actually genuinely lift out your thoughts as Kenyans or maybe people abroad, if, for example, we have a leader, let's say the senators or the leaders in America representing different states. You know, Kenya is not like America. We have people, different people staying in different places, and people don't go, purely as parties. As far as their parties, people also represent themselves in terms of a tribe. It's funny that in Kenya, as far as people are talking about tribalism ending, I don't know whether it will be possible. I don't look, I'm not a pessimist. I'm not a pessimist, but I hope the Gen Z generation that are saying they are tribalists, they'll never be anywhere asking for somebody a tribe, because I have a situation where my sister actually studied something to do with catering, that is food and beverage. Food and beverage. And after she did that course, she did finish somewhere almost 2021. And unfortunately, my sister had a very big challenge acquiring a job in food and beverage, because we don't have capital. We didn't have capital for her to start running her own business. But every time she went to places, she would be asked, "What tribe are you?" People would look at her second name and ask, "Which tribe are you? Where are you from?" And they say, "If you are this tribe, we could have given you a job." So if we talk about tribal matters here, I don't know whether the leaders are looking at it also at the basic level, because we've had stories about people going for jobs and they don't get it, but somebody else from a different tribe getting it. And this is the reality that Kenyans don't want to face. They really argue about it. When you say there's tribalism in Kenya, they will say it's not. But you go to public offices and get some tribes that are popular there. You'll find them speaking even in their own language in public offices. I don't know if this applies to other countries like Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and all that, or if the narrative there is different. Have they embraced a national language so that they only use that purely, and people are proud to talk about we are just Kenyans? Or is it a narrative that is only sold on media, and when leaders want to actually isolate someone? Now, this discussion becomes so interesting because recently, when we saw leakages of messages from leaders who had actually been bribed to oust out GACHAGUA from leadership, and now we are seeing Sakaja is falling into the same, but Sakaja's case is different because for him, it's out of failing to communicate, failing to allow the leaders go through the right process of leadership, and also, the politics, dirty politics that he has been playing. We call it power politics, possibly. So I was listening to GACHAGUA and trying to understand this narrative, because in Kenya, as far as we'll try to say tribalism is not there, it is. It is still there. Even though Gen Zs are saying they are tribalists, I hope indeed they are trying to campaign for something that will work, so that we'll see a situation whereby leadership, people don't actually acquire leadership, and they bring a cousin, they bring a sister, they bring, all that. Instead, it should be a situation whereby people go by merit, and then regional balances, of course, automatically, whether you are a different tribe but you come from a different region, that's what they should matter. It's not about the name. People normally listen keenly. One thing that I'll assure you, in Kenya, people listen keenly to your surname. When you announce yourself, "I'm Priska," then they'll be like, second name. That is the reality about Kenya. When I stand and say I'm Priska, people will not be satisfied. They want to listen to the surname so that they rank me from where I come from. You go for an interview, you will not meet somebody saying, "Do you come from here?" If they listen to your name and it doesn't look like typically from the people who come from there, they'll be asking you, "And you travel all the way to come and look for a job here?" I remember the first time I was looking for a job, I went to Coast, and I didn't expect that I will be asked a tribal question. But when I went for the interview, do you know, somebody, a chairperson of a school, asked me, "And are you married among the Taita, or are you a Taita?" This is the reality about the raw politics in Kenya, even on the ground, socially. People will ask you your tribe. They look at you and say, "You look like you are not one of us," or "You look like you are this." They'll want to talk to you in their language. So I do not understand, maybe as they ask GACHAGUA about this, I do not know whether we really accept that tribalism as a rest. Just like people say in America, racism is a rest. But I still have seen documentaries of people talking about racism happening to be there. So it's just like people running away from what they practice, you know, people not wanting to acknowledge that they do practice what they don't want to say they do. But on the ground, they still believe in it and they still hold it. All right? So let's get to listen more here to this discussion.
Ask, yeah, by the population. You came and promised us. You told us we vote for this man. Yeah, we are going to have coffee reforms. We are going to have tea reforms. We are going to fight alcohol. We are going to do ABCD. We are going to improve the environment for business. Now things have turned upside down. We are being overtaxed. We are being levied too many taxes. You misled us. So what I was doing is responding from the pressure from the people.
Okay.
On whose behalf I negotiated with William Ruto.
But
I took it up with him.
Yeah, but what you're saying, I suppose, is perhaps what we've always understood, that our political patterns and our voting patterns are tribal.
Let me tell you, Yvonne, it's not tribal. It's coalitions are coalitions.
No, but you said, when there was an agreement that was made with you on behalf of the people of Mount Kenya, with Amason Kingi on behalf of the people from his region. So you're making this tacit admission now as former deputy president of the Republic and a party leader that our voting and our political patterns are based along tribal lines.
Coalitions are formed by regional blocks. Okay? And William Ruto sought me out and my people. He sought Kingi. He sought Wetangula and Musalia. He sought everybody else. And that's the nature of our politics for now.
Okay, all right. So some then say, and I want us to listen to this clip coming up, that you are simply renaming tribalism, and instead of using the word tribes, you call them shares and shareholding. Let's listen to this again at a different occasion.
Niko hapo. Huyu Felix ako hapo. Rais mnamjua. Mimi mnanijua msimamo yangu.
Silence on my phone.
Ya kwamba watoto wakiwa wengi kuna wale kwanza ya kuangaliwa, si mnajua. Sasa huyu Felix ako pale ndio mwenye kuunganisha mawaya. Mambo yetu tumepanga. Mambo iko sawa. Chakula iko jikoni. Karibu kuiva. Watoto ni wengi, chakula ni kidogo. Iko watoto ya nyumba.
Oh my goodness.
Positions and 11 principal secretaries, and he was given for support. Even us to give William Ruto support, we demanded certain things, and it was upon him to evaluate, take it or leave it. And
now that you're out of government, is this a concept that you still believe in, Mr. Gachagua?
In terms of
shareholding?
I am not talking about shareholding in terms of being discriminatory. We are saying when we form a government, people must sit down and agree that if we are successful, we are willing to bring this number of votes here. This is our expectation from that administration. It happens all over the world. People must negotiate. And it's only that I was a tough negotiator. And why people thought probably I'm tribal or I am too much is because I was insisting to get what I negotiated for. And I was being shortchanged. And I was saying, no, I don't want to be shortchanged. I must get what I negotiated for.
Guys, it's getting hot, all right? So looking at that mic one, there was a lot of hot tea and ginger right there. And I don't know, for that 1 hour, 23 minutes and 46 seconds that the mic one took part, do you still believe that Gachagua is a nationalist or a tribalist? And you saw the questions Okwaro asked in relation to shares, and he argued that he negotiated on the basis of the context. But I want to just challenge you, and I want you to go back to the government, maybe look at the list of leaders, even parastatal leaders, CEOs, and I've told you about the ambassadors because I looked at that list and I was surprised. The list is actually online because of the corrupt discussions that are going on. And I'm looking at that, I'm saying almost all the leaders in Kenya are tribalists. I don't see any nationalists. Only I hope that they are going to actually eliminate corruption, because one of the ailings that we suffer from is corruption from our small institutions We have corruption in form of so many other ways, you know. Corruption in forms of deals, manipulation, bribery, siphoning of funds. We have, you know, favorism, which is very high. In fact, that one happens all over the places. And of course, bribes, I've told you, they happen even in small institutions, you know. And we have fraud, we have impersonification, and all those forms of corruption that are happening. If only that is plucked out of our institutions, then everything will have to run smoothly. But the rest of it, I don't see how actually we can argue that there is no tribalism. There's no way. Because tell me, one place you've met maybe a person from Nyanza with another meeting and they don't speak their language. Show me one place where people from the mountain meet together and they realize they share names and they don't speak in their own language. Show me where people from Rift Valley will meet together and they realize they share names and they don't speak their language. That's a lie, a very big lie. In fact, if there is a tribe that does not actually communicate in their language when they meet easily, is the Luya people. They'll meet and some of them will speak their language and they'll it without speaking it. But for the rest of the tribes in Kenya, I've lived with them, I've worked with them, and I'm still existing with them even in business. Some of them will even migrate in terms of business and go buy specifically to a shop because it belongs to their people. The Somalis, for example, I've observed them. And if you're opening a shop, or rather, let's say you have opened a hospital somewhere, they'll even come and ask who the doctor is. And if they realize it's one of them, they'll quickly go to that shop than go to any other. So on the question of tribalism, people, let's just check on it. So I'll be coming later at around 13 to have another live stream on Nyabohanse. Thank you guys for your support, and I really appreciate your presence here during this time. Bye-bye for now.